So today we're going to be going over different types of angles and how to find their measure depending on their location and the measurements of angles around them. First off, we're going to go over the probably three most important angles to know in math. Obviously, the most occurring one, and probably the most important out of all the angles that you can learn, is the right angle. It's probably going to appear the most in math, and it's an angle formed by two perpendicular lines. So it's an exact corner, and it's marked by the sign with two perpendicular lines, and they're always equal to 90 degrees. In a math problem, you may have to find an angle of a polygon, and it may tell you measurements of some angles, and it won't tell you the measurement of the right angle, but they're just making sure or assuming that you know the measurement of that angle because of its marking in the corner. So that's a good thing to note, that any angle with that marking is always going to be equal to 90 degrees. Then we have our two opposites, which are the acute and the obtuse angles. Acute angles are always smaller than the right angle, and they're always going to be less than 90 degrees. Then we have obtuse angles, which are always going to be a bigger angle than the right angle, and they're always going to have a measure that's greater than 90 degrees. Then we have complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that come together to form a right angle. So when you add up their measurements, it'll add up to 90 degrees. So for example, this could be two angles that are like one's 50 degrees and one's 40 degrees. They come together to form a right angle, and they'll equal 90 degrees. Then we have supplementary angles, which have a similar concept. They're angles that add up to 180 degrees though. So for example, on our model we have here, the angles look like, they could say approximately one's 100 degrees and one's 80 degrees. So if you put these angles together, they would form a straight line, which straight lines are always 180 degrees, and they would form a straight line. So basically, if you add up their measurements, it'll always be 180 degrees. Next, we have corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles in similar positions according to models similar to this. The long line that separates the two parallel lines, which are lines that have the same slope and will never intersect. The line that cuts through them is called the transversal. So corresponding angles are angles in quote-unquote similar positions, meaning that in reference to the lines, they're similar and the angles are equal in measure. So like 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. So for example, if I define the measurement of angle 1 and I was given the measurement of angle 5, it would be equal. So it would have the same numerical measurement. And then vertical angles are angles that share a common vertex and have the same sides. So for example, this can be like 1 and 4. 1 and 4 are also going to be equal in measure. So if you get like angle 1 and you have to find the measurement of angle 4, they're equal. Next, we have interior angles and exterior angles. So interior angles are angles within the transversal. So for example, this can be like 2 and 4. They're inside the line. And then exterior angles are angles that are outside the transversal, so outside those parallel lines. And this can be like angles 1 and 3. Next, we have consecutive angles, which are angles that are on the same side of the transversal. So for example, this is like 2 and 5. They're on the same side of the transversal. Now keep in mind, transversal, not parallel line. So 5 and 7 are not consecutive, but 2 and 5 are consecutive. Then we have alternate angles, which are angles on the opposite side of the transversal. So for example, this can be like 2 and 7. So they're both interior, but they're alternate. Also, on some math problems, they can get a little bit wordy, and they can say, for example, consecutive interior angles. So your angle has to be both interior and consecutive. So that would be like 2 and 5. And then they can say like alternative interior. So they have to be interior, but they can have to be on opposite side of the transversal. So this would be like 4 and 5. Same for consecutive. It can be like alternate exterior. So this can be like 3 and 6. Opposite sides, both on the exterior. And that is all I have on angles. Make sure to comment down below if you have any questions. I'll try and answer them, and subscribe for more videos like this, and give it a like if you enjoyed it.